That's right. It's time for another riveting edition of the Kaufman Corner podcast with you, as always, the good doctor, Dr. Rany Jazayerli, one of the co-founders of Baseball Prospectus. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB. A lot of ground to cover here as the Royals just will not go away from this wild card race today. A disappointing game as we record Sunday nights, 9 p. Central. You can be a part of the conversation. That's when we stream. If you get us via the podcast, remember you can be a part of the chat. A lot of folks lined up in the chat room already talking Royals baseball here. What needs to happen for them to make the playoffs? We'll talk about that coming up here on tonight's edition. What to make of Seth Lugo's back injury. Cole Ragans had a rehab start, and he dominated in Omaha today. How should they use him? What about how to use Cags? Jensen, they're up. Are they being used the right way? Will the vulnerability of the Royals to left-handed pitching ultimately be what brings them down? Can the Royals survive? Bobby Witt being out for very much longer. And Ryan Bergert keeps making the Royals look better and better and better with each and every start. We're talking about it right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro. Rany is a co-founder of Baseball Prospectus, author of Rany on the Royals, and a former columnist for Grantland, The Ringer, and The Athletic. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it, get with Dave and he'll have you covered. Give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. And now, here are your hosts, Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis, as we roll on here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Rany, how about it? 2 back, 19 to go. What's it going to take to get him in there? 13 tough games coming up. 4 against Cleveland, 3 against Philadelphia. Right, I have that right. Yeah, 3 against Philadelphia, 3 against Seattle, and 3 against the Blue Jays before wrapping up with 6, which should be easier games. 3 against the Angels, 3 against the Sacramento A's. That's all on the road. What's it going to take to get him there?
Well, it's going to take them not losing games to teams that they should be beating, which is what happened multiple times this week. They went 3-3 at home against 2 teams that are under 500, and somehow they're still 2 games out. And, coming into today, they look like to be in an excellent position, just 1 game behind before they lost again today. And then the Mariners remembered that Kevin Seitzer is their hitting coach and scored 18 runs today. But still, 2 games out, 19 to go. One of the things we got to start talking about, I don't like talking about the individual series and the schedule too early in a pennant chase, but this is absolutely the time where you start looking at who are playing, who the Mariners playing, who the other contenders are playing, et cetera, et cetera. And it's time we start talking about some of the most important series on the schedule, and also we'll talk about the tiebreakers, because I think there's a very good possibility that is going to end up deciding a playoff spot, since Major League Baseball no longer allows teams to decide it on the field. So we need to look at the 2 main issues, 2 main series on the schedule here. The one coming up right now against Cleveland, and then the 3-game series at home against the Mariners next week. The reason these 2 are especially important, the Mariners series will determine not just who picks up a game or potentially 3, because it's a 3-game series. Somebody's going to pick up a game in that series, but just as importantly it'll determine the tiebreaker, because right now the teams are tied 2-2 head to head. So if the Royals win 2 out of 3 against the Mariners, they're picking up a game and they're picking up a tiebreaker. And that's why, to me, as long as they can come out of this week not losing any more ground on Seattle, because Seattle's got a series against, I think, the Cardinals. They start this this
I
week.
can tell you, I've got Curtis built a spreadsheet for me. They've got the Cardinals Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the Angels Thursday through Sunday.
Right. And the Angels, look, the Angels are below 500, but as we saw and as we will see at the end of the year, they're not a bad team. This is not White Sox level bad, Rockies level bad. There are teams that have no hope. There are no teams left on the schedule that are at that, at that part of the standings. But this is, the Cardinals. God, it hurts to have to root for them, but we have to root for a Cardinals team that isn't very good, but isn't terrible. Like the Mariners, I would take a 4-3 week for them, right now, and I think you would probably too. Which means the Royals ideally would need to go 4-3 this week, not lose any ground, and even if they're 2 games out, what that means is they come home, and if they take 2 out of 3, look, if they lose 2 out of 3 to the Mariners, it's probably over anyway, because they're losing a game and losing a tiebreaker. So they would be 3.5 games out functionally at that point with like 10 to go. But if they win 2 out of 3, they don't have to sweep, but if they win 2 out of 3, they would be a game out and have the tiebreaker in hand. They'd essentially be half a game out behind Seattle. So that's a huge series. But the other one here is this Cleveland series, because the Cleveland series, the Indians, the Indians, eventually I'll get over saying that. The Guardians are a game behind, but they're tied in the loss column. In fact, the Royals, the Guardians, and the Rangers all have 70 losses right now. So they're all functionally tied. If the Royals split this series, I think the way the schedule goes the rest of the season, they're in a good spot. But if they split the series, they lose the tiebreaker to the Guardians. If they win 3 out of 4, not only do they pick up 2 games on the Guardians, they will have the tiebreaker in hand. I think right now they're 3-4 or 4-5 against the Guardians. If they're 1 under 500 against the Guardians for the season, but if they go 3-1 in this series, they'll have the tiebreaker. So if they win 3 out of 4, they'll come out of this series with Cleveland functionally 2.5 games ahead, and in a very good spot to kind of put them aside. They've already got the tiebreaker on the Rangers. And I believe, not that it's still possible it'll come up, but if they end up tied with the Rays at the end of the season, I'm pretty sure they'll have the tiebreaker there. They tied head to head, but the second tiebreaker which is your in-division record, the Royals are likely to finish with a better record than the Rays. So there's a scenario. If they win 3 out of 4 against the Guardians and 2 out of 3 against the Mariners, they will have tiebreakers against every team that they are likely to finish the season tied with. And I think the Royals need to play this upcoming 4-game series with that kind of sense of urgency, knowing that winning 3 out of 4 is, proportionately that much more valuable than winning 2 out of 4.
It's an extra game.
It's an extra game, and exactly. It's a game and a half instead of a game, and that's enormous at this point in the schedule. And it may have had something to do with the way that they were, using the bullpen today. I mean, they used Sam Long, I think, on back-to-back days here, rather than with the game still somewhat in reach. They tried not to use any of their elite relievers. Getting 7 innings out of Stephen Kolek yesterday was huge because it allowed them to rest. I mean, they basically just used Kolek, Luinder Avila, who, frankly, at this point, after back-to-back excellent innings, he came up as the last guy in the bullpen, but I think we could be seeing him move up in the pecking order very quickly. But him and Long are the only 2 guys who pitched, both games today and yesterday. And then, Serpa, Lynch, and Taylor Clark all threw less than an inning. They didn't touch Lucas Urseg, Carlos Estevez. Like, they have a rested bullpen ready to go here. But they really need to win 3 out of 4 in this upcoming series against the Guardians, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. Where do you put it? What? How likely do you think it is now?
Their playoff odds? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're at that point in the season where one day can make a huge difference. I mean, the Fangraphs odds coming in this morning were around 18%. And they've dropped to under 12% now, which doesn't sound like much, but it's your playoff odds. The chances of making the playoffs just dropped by a third because of one bad day. You're the team you're trying to catch won and you lost, and that seems reasonable to me. I mean, 1 out of 8 sounds about right. It's the equivalent of going into the last day of the season a game out of behind 2 different teams, where you need 2 teams to lose and you need to win. Unlikely, but possible. Absolutely. And the key is, I think, because of the way the schedule bears out with the Guardians and the Mariners, the Royals control their own destiny. So if they don't make it, they have no one to blame but themselves. They're not yet at that point in the season where you have to watch the scoreboard. We're all watching the scoreboard because that's what we do. But like the Royals take care of business. They will be fine. But they have to take care of business. I mean, if they go 14-5, it almost doesn't matter what anyone else does. One of the teams ahead of them, because even if the Mariners get hot, they might catch the Astros at this rate. The Astros didn't do us any favors losing, I think, 2 out of 3 to the Rangers, because now the Rangers are half a game ahead. But like even the Astros are in range if you get hot enough. But if you go 12-7, 13-6, you're going to need some help. You're going to need some, at least you're going to need some team to not catch fire ahead of you. But it helps that you get to play the Mariners, because if you can sweep the Mariners, then I mean that's a 3-game swing, right? You're ahead of them. Plus you have the tiebreaker with everything else still left to play. So they control their own destiny, but it's very much an uphill battle. They cannot keep losing games that they should win, and they don't have very many of those left on the schedule, frankly.
What do you think the record will be of the low wild card now?
Oh, the last wild card team. What's going to take to get in?
Uh-huh.
We've been saying 86 wins kind of all along, right? And we just use that as a ballpark number. It's what the Royals and the Tigers had last year when they were the last teams in. I actually think 86 is probably right. Give or take 1 win. It's going to be right in that 85 to 87 range. 86 wins means the Royals would need to go 13-6. And then it's a matter of, if 2 teams finish with 86, who gets the tiebreaker?
I'm of the opinion now that, a little while ago, I was of the opinion that 86 wasn't going to get it done, right? That you're going to need more like 87, 88. The Mariners,
there was a time where it looked like 87, 88 was going to be the magic number.
Yeah. The Mariners have failed to live up to that expectation. That doesn't mean they can't get hot again, or somebody else get hot and push that number up. But now I feel like 86 will get it done, right? And I'm not so sure. I'm surprised at how these teams have been passing around, it's like a hot potato nobody wants to hold, right? I know the Mariners have held on to that position, but they've done everything they can to give it to somebody else, right? And the scary part for me, and I still don't think they're going to get there, is because I really felt like they needed to be probably even +1 game headed into this 13-game stretch now. Like, I think it's unlikely to think that Cleveland, Philly, Seattle, Toronto, they can do any better than 7-6, which would mean if 86 is necessary, they got to go 6-0
at the end. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the one saving grace here is because even if they go 7-6, if they go 5-2 or 6-1 against Cleveland and Seattle, but get beaten up by the Phillies and the Blue Jays, there's still a path. Right. That would certainly make things easier. But you're right. I mean, they had a chance to pick up ground, a golden opportunity this week. They failed to do so. And now they have to actually get hot against some of the better teams in baseball. And again, they have no one to blame but themselves.
Yeah, it is. It's frustrating. It's still, we're playing competitive baseball. Watch this team play competitive baseball in the month of September. Something that I definitely didn't think on June 15th. Right, all of June, I thought no shot, and they're still in the fight, and I think they deserve a ton of credit for still being in the fight to this point. We want to get into Seth Lugo's back injury. That is certainly a problem. I also want to talk about Cole Ragans. Could he be help here real soon for the Royals? We'll do it after you hear from our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Your favorites are back, Kansas City, now for a limited time at all your Kansas City Whataburger locations. The Bacon Wrangler Double, 2 large beef patties, American Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, fried onion strings, pickles, and chipotle aioli sauce. Or how about the sweet and spicy bacon burger? 2 large beef patties, American and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, grilled onions, and topped with sweet and spicy pepper sauce. Or grab the patty melt or even the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. They're all perfect with the Whataburger Dr. Pepper Blackberry Shake. Remember, Whataburger is open 24 hours a day with breakfast served from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. And don't forget, you can get all your Whataburger favorites and more by downloading the Whataburger app with the QR code. Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner podcast. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Let's talk about the back injury. Seth Lugo. What do you do?
I mean, look, it's obviously it sucks. The timing of it sucks. The fact that he had an injury sucks. But if we look at this both long-term and short-term, from where you and I were when we last talked 2 weeks ago, we didn't know what was wrong, to today, the long-term outlook for me, I feel much better because I have an explanation for something that like everyone seemed to be in a denial about, which was that Seth Lugo wasn't just struggling. He was pitching so much worse than he has ever pitched as a starting pitcher that you had to think something was wrong. And I was worried not only that he was hurt, but that pitching, if he had an arm injury that was being, overlooked, that he could be doing irreversible damage by continuing to pitch. And so I feel good from the perspective, from my perspective, saying that there had to be something physically wrong with him. I think David Lusky did an excellent job of breaking down from the pitch movement that he seemed to be having an issue with finishing pitches. And that is absolutely something that a sore back would cause. And at the same time, I feel a little better that the Royals, until they knew for sure what was going on, were not risking further injury by allowing him to pitch. It is quite possible he had, what we call subclinical, back pain, the point where maybe he didn't even feel pain. Maybe it was just stiff. Maybe he didn't know he had an issue at all. Sometimes the hitters are the ones to tell you that you're pitching hurt. But ultimately he developed symptoms, got shut down. But from long term, I feel a lot better that whatever, whether or not he's able to come back this year, we are likely to see a fully healthy Seth Lugo next season. I mean, the fact that the injury was minor enough that he was able to pitch badly maybe, but pitch through it for probably 2 or 3 weeks at least before he finally acknowledged it, makes me fairly confident this is not going to be a debilitating, career-altering back injury. So I'm actually, optimistic now. The long-term, Seth Lugo will be healthy on opening day 2026.
Yeah,
in the short, so that's the long-term. Yeah. Short-term, honestly, I mean, it's frustrating that he's on the injured list, but I almost, when I heard he was going on the injured list, I also felt a sense of relief in the sense that, let's get him out of the rotation because I love Seth Lugo. I love what he's done for this team. He's one of the greatest free agent signings in the history of the franchise. But at this exact moment, the Royals had a better option in the rotation, like replacing him, this hobbled version of him with someone else in the rotation was going to help the team. And sure enough, Stephen Kolek came up and pitched quite well yesterday. Did a kind of a Seth Lugo impression, didn't miss any bats until the 7th inning. And very impressively, after striking out one batter in the first 6 innings, they let him pitch into the 7th because the Royals had a 9 or 10 run lead at that point. He let the first 2 guys reach base. They still stuck with him. And then he struck out the side. Like, we don't know that much about Stephen Kolek yet, but anybody who is able to start missing bats in the 7th inning after throwing 90 plus pitches, that's an impressive feat in itself. But the point is, like, I was prepared to have Stephen Kolek be better than Seth Lugo at this point in the season. And that's exactly what happened. So I actually think it's a blessing that we know it's wrong, that he can get better, and that the Royals have so much starting pitching depth at this exact moment, even without Lugo, even without Cole Ragans yet, even without Chris Bubich, that they were able to go out and, to Omaha and bring up somebody who was able to do a better Seth Lugo impression than Seth Lugo himself could do.
Yeah, I think that's the important one. I'm glad you mentioned Kolich because, I remember watching the Rays and, if you're a fantasy baseball player and you go a little bit deeper and you have minor league guys and everything, I would have Rays minor league pitchers and my guy'd get called up. And I think like Cobb was one of the guys. He'd get called up and he'd pitch great. And then he gets sent back down, right? Whoever was hurt would come back and you're like, wait a minute, but this guy is good enough to be in the majors. They'd send him back to the minors. Then somebody else get hurt. They call him back up and he'd pitch, a 3.50 ERA. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm in great shape. I just picked up a starting pitcher out of the mix. And then back down he'd go. They had such depth of starting rotation that they had guys. I mean, it seems like, and the Rays aren't the only team, but they're the one that jumps at me that they just always seem to have another guy that they could call up and he was major league ready. And when was the last time you could say that about the Royals? I mean, they're 3, 4, and 5 aren't ready. That's what normally it was. They sucked, right? Forget about going down and getting somebody from the minor leagues that was major league ready. And that's what Kolich is. They've got a guy that's down there that's good enough to pitch in the big leagues. If he were pitching in a bad organization, he'd be the number 3 starter. And I'm not saying he's a number 3. I'm saying, 100 lost teams, this guy they'd be running him out there every day. And the Royals have that kind of depth. So that to me is, yes, I'm with you. Not elbow, not shoulder. It's back with Seth Lugo. That's good news. Hoping for a speedy recovery, certainly hoping for a full recovery for next year, if nothing else. But then they're showing their depth. I mean, this is what real contending teams do. This is why they're in it, because they've taken on water all year long. And, oh, yeah, by the way, let's mention Cole Ragans here. 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, no walks, 7 Ks in Omaha.
Today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dominant. I mean, now that's the question I have is how should he be used the rest of the way?
Right.
Are you going to burn more starts with him building up and you're wanting to bring him back as a starter? Or is it like, okay, I've seen enough and let's do a bullpen day. Let's do a Kolich and a Ragans together and stretch him out that way. What's the right way to be using Cole Ragans after he appeared to be on top of his game down in Omaha?
Yeah, the only thing that the only negative to take from Cole Ragans' first rehab start today is simply the date on the calendar, right? It's September 7th. We're running out of time. Even if he gets called up tomorrow, he can make at most 3 starts between now and the end of the season. But his start went so well today. Not just, the numbers, like you said, 7 strikeouts in 3 innings. He gave up, I think, a solo home run and 1 other base runner in a game where when he came out of the game, the rest of the Omaha pitching staff gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. Remember, the offense in AAA is hot. And so that's even more impressive in some ways than it looks. He threw 45 pitches, 34 for strikes. 3/4 of his pitches were strikes. The number there, probably the most important number there is the number of pitches he threw, 45. Right. So he's obviously not ready to go 6 innings, but if he could throw 45, I wasn't sure he would go that many. I thought he might go 2 innings and 30 pitches or so. If he could go 45 today, can he go 50 to 55 in his next time out? And if so, that's 3 to 4 innings, especially in September with a 14-man pitching staff. I think it's time to bring him up. I think he can contribute in that role. Especially like you said, especially if you piggyback him with another pitcher. Kolich seems to make the most sense. The problem is since Kolich pitched yesterday and Cole pitched today and the Royals do not have an off day for Thursday. Kurt's saying you could make 4 starts, maybe. But you really, it depends on how you massage him into the rotation. And, you might end up with him starting the last game of the season, with the playoff spot on the line, which if Cole is healthy, maybe he's the guy you want in that role. But the point is, if you're going to use him, you might as well use him now. I don't see the point in giving him another rehab start unless there was something specific they saw from him today that they're worried about. I know his fastball averaged around 95, right? And normally the average is probably more like 96, 97, but 95, I think you're ready to give that, a chance. I would not also be averse to having him used in almost like a long reliever role where he's pitching out of the bullpen, maybe pitching more often. That might be a hard ask to have him pitch. It's not so much the number of innings, it's the frequency. Like to suddenly ask him to pitch with 1 or 2 days rest, even in short bursts, for a guy who hasn't done that in, a year and a half.
Why would you mess with that? Why would you even
Yeah,
think
it seems like that to me seems a little risky. But I think the idea of having him throw 3 to 4 innings in his first start and potentially getting up to 5 innings by his second start if he's efficient, and piggybacking him with somebody else. I mean, it could also be Lorenzen, and that might actually make a lot of sense too. Like the Royals have a decision to make here. Who does he replace in the rotation? Lorenzen has a lot of experience out of the bullpen. They moved him to the bullpen in October last year in the playoffs. So maybe what you do is you go to both of them and say, look, you're both throwing 3 innings next, I guess it would be next Friday against the Phillies. And that's, there's your 6-inning starter. And you can adjust a plan based on how things go. But if everything goes well, then Cole maybe can go out and throw 5 innings by the second time out. But with the calendar where it is, you got the best possible news from him today. I don't think you can afford to be too patient here. I think it's time to throw him into the fire because you're in a pennant race.
I think what you do is you throw him on whatever the plan was, and I'm assuming it was every 5th day, but if not, if it was every 6th, whenever it is, you're throwing him on that day for however many pitches in the big leagues. Right? I don't think there's any reason if he's, I don't buy this like, oh, what's he throwing? 7. He's turned it down to 80% down in the minor leagues. I mean, he's if he can throw, he can throw. And he's proven that he was sharp enough there. And it might blow up. He might have a rough day. He might have more control problems. He might not have been near as dominant as that looks. It's just because minor league guys will go chase some crap that big leaguers won't. But to me, I think you've got to try to get everything you can out of him, but not use him any more or any differently than you would were he down rehabbing in Omaha. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And I agree. And I think, the other reason, honestly, to bring him up is, look, the whole point here is you're trying to make the playoffs, but also you have to have an eye towards what do we do if we make the playoffs. If he's healthy, you probably want him in your playoff rotation, but you need to find out, is he healthy? And so letting him start at least 3 times here, if the results are good, if they're good, you're that much more likely to make the playoffs, but also if they're good, that gives you the data that you need to make a decision to say, yeah, he's going to start the second or third game of the playoffs for us as well. Like, it's easy to forget because we haven't seen him in, 3 or 4 months, and his ERA was superficially high. I mean, he is by far the best FIP of any starting pitcher in this on the team this year. I know his ERA is high, but like, he just had ridiculously bad luck with balls in play, and that's a fluke because last year it wasn't that case. He is still inning for inning the most effective starting pitcher I think the Royals have. So if he is healthy, you want to take advantage of that. And you might look back 6 weeks from now and be like, Cole Ragans came back at the perfect time. But you have to take advantage of that perfect time, and that means letting him go out there and start for the major league team in 5 days. Yeah.
No, I think it's important to get it right for now. It's important to get it right for the long haul. I think that's the key for him. How do they use Jack Caglianone and Carter Jensen? We will talk about that because that's a very important part of the equation. And I don't know that everybody's in agreement on how they should be used. We'll talk about that after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete and David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations: North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, how do you use Jack Caglianone? How do you use Carter Jensen? Do you like what they've done so far, or you got some tweaks you'd like to see?
So the issue I have, like, I wouldn't be at all concerned about the way they're using them if this were the 7th of August and not the 7th of September. Like, I think they should be playing more, but I would get the idea of slowly easing them in if you had time to make that work, but you don't. And so, like, today against a right-handed starter, I just feel like, and especially on a day where Luke Maile is catching, it'd be one thing if Salvador Perez is behind the plate. When I saw Salvi was DHing, I'm like, well, you got to have Carter Jensen in there against a right-hander catching. And they just don't trust him enough, presumably defensively, to do that. And, you know, Maile did get a hit in 3 plate appearances. And then in the 9th inning, when they, you know, the only way Jensen was going to catch was if the Royals got the game into extra innings. They allowed him to pinch hit for Maile. But I presume it's the defensive concerns. They don't want to throw him into a pennant race. But I just feel like the offensive gap between him, especially against the right-hander, and Maile is too big to pass that up. And I will say yesterday, they let Carter finally make his catching debut. He was at DH. They moved him. They gave up the DH because they were up by like 9 runs, and they wanted to give him a couple innings behind the plate. He got to catch his teammate from Omaha, Luinder Avila, in the 8th inning. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. The first batter on, I think it was a 1-2 count, Trevor Larnach, Avila threw a curveball low, probably 6 inches under the zone. Carter Jensen did a hell of a framing job and got strike 3 called. Like, it was a legitimate, like, oh yeah, it's one pitch, small sample size, I get it. But it was a legitimate, impressive moment for a guy who, you know, I've heard his defensive reputation is good, but like, he is an offensive-minded prospect. The reason why he is, in my mind, the best prospect in the organization, why he's a top 100 prospect, is because he can hit, right? And so the fact that, like, he did a really good job of pulling up a curveball, you know, getting low and then pulling the glove up, which is the way you're taught to do the framing. It was like, wow, maybe this guy can actually catch. Because if he can be a legitimate catcher defensively in the major leagues with that bat, like, that's the only reason why, you know, he's not a top 40 prospect. I think he's just, there are still some lingering concerns, because if you can't catch, then you're a first baseman, and you know, the defensive value drops significantly. But from what I saw, I'm like, yeah, I think we can let this guy play a little bit behind the plate. Caglianone, I don't know if you saw their plate appearances today. He had one of the most impressive plate appearances of his short career. I mean, 13 pitches, I believe it went 12 or 13 pitches, and finally walked. And Jensen also walked in his plate appearance, and the Royals were able to bring the tying run to the plate in the 9th inning. You know, Caglianone is showing a more mature approach, a little more patient. I'm not saying he should start every day. I don't think they should. I think you have some options against left-handed pitching. I don't think you have to start them against lefties, but I would like to see Caglianone in the lineup against pretty much every right-hander. And I think Carter Jensen should be catching when Salvador Perez is DHing. So I would like to see them used more. I understand the concern. It's a pennant race, but at the same time, because it's a pennant race, you can't afford to give up any games. You know, you worrying about the future, yes, that's important, but like, you're not going to screw up a guy's career by, you know, throwing him into the fire for 19 games now. But if throwing him into the fire might make your team better now, I think it's a risk you got to take.
Well, I think the fact that he caught Avila, is it not necessarily that they don't trust him as much as they don't think he's in sync with their, you know, with the other guys? I mean, they trust him with Avila because Avila's been throwing to him. There's a comfort level, but that it's a little bit of like, hey, we need you to go through spring training and, you know, catch these guys. Otherwise, you know, we don't want to mess with the pitching. That's still priority number one. And it's not necessarily that they don't trust him as much as the pitchers don't know him.
I mean, that's possible. I think it's legit. I mean, some of the guys on the team, obviously, he has caught in the minor leagues. Especially a lot of the relievers from Jonathan Bolin and maybe even Taylor Clark and some of these other guys. I don't know if he ever caught Noah Cameron. I think he was still in Double-A at the time. But I mean, catchers get called up from the minor leagues all the time, and like you throw them in. Like, this was a concern when you had mentioned it when the Padres traded for Freddie Fermin. This idea that he's going to have to learn a whole new pitching staff, and the Padres weren't worried about that. And we'll get to that trade because that's great from the Royals' perspective. But I don't think the Padres are regretting it because I think Freddie Fermin has done for them what they were hoping he would do. You can learn pitchers fairly quickly, and Carter Jensen was almost certainly caught most of these guys at least in spring training. They're not complete mysteries to him. But I think that is probably the rationale they are using for why they're using Luke Bailey. And I mean, look, if Luke Bailey were Freddie Fermin, I would say fine. But Luke Bailey is Drew Butera, and I just feel like Drew Butera is not somebody who should be starting. Like, fine, it's great that he can come off the bench for defense and catch the last pitch of the season in 2015. But like, I don't want that guy in my starting lineup. I don't think Drew Butera ever Salvador Perez started every single game behind the plate in 2014 and 2015. But you can't do that during a season. So I need a competent catcher back there, and I don't think that's Luke Bailey.
Yeah, I think that's the point. And I asked the question about like, hey, is it the familiarity there? Just because I think that is probably part of the thinking. But then get him familiar. I mean, I don't like catch some bullpens, whatever it takes, because the bat is significantly better with Jensen. Even if I don't understand how Caglianone you can be ready to throw right back out into the outfield. But Jensen, I mean, I do get that the other people's defensive performance does not depend upon what he's doing out there. I understand the unique nature of the catcher and how important he is to the pitcher. But if you're willing to live with Jack Caglianone in a new position out there, I mean, part of it is like, aren't your pitchers good enough that they can kind of bring him along, shake him off, let him know what you want? I mean, I don't know. I'm with you. I'm really surprised. Once he's up here, he's a better, bat against right-handers than Maile. So I don't know why you wouldn't be using him.
Well, my hope, and I'm always blinded by my hope, but my hope is today might be a bit of a tipping point in the sense that they, like I said, they both came off the bench and both had just like very mature plate appearances. They both, fouled off some pitches, didn't swing at pitches outside the strike zone. Caglianone in particular, he had 2 strikes on him, like 4 pitches in, and fouled off like six balls, and then the pitches that were outside the strike zone, he worked back from 1 and 2 all the way to walking. I do wonder if they see that and they're like, you know what? Yes, these guys are rookies. Yeah, they're probably eager to do something at the plate, but they're showing maturity, plate discipline, something our lineup could use. I wonder if we don't start to see them, start to sprinkle them in a little bit more. I mean, Caglianone is playing 50% of the time. I think that maybe that'll go up to 70% of the time now.
What about their struggles against left-handed pitching?
I mean, this is, it's been a season-long problem, and it's, not it's exacerbated by the fact that Jonathan India is on the injured list now. For say what we want about Jonathan India and how much of a disappointment he's been this season, but there's only so many right-handed bats that are available to this team right now, and he was one of them, and now he's gone. The team is for the season, their OPS against lefties is 48 points lower than it is against right-handers. And I mean, they just don't have enough right-handed bats to go around. And both Caglianone and Jensen, as promising as they are, they're both left-handed bats. And, in the big picture, frankly, I'd rather have left-handed bats than right-handed bats because the left-handed bats have the platoon advantage 2/3 of the time. But the Royals are in a rare position now where they actually almost have too many of them. So much of this depends on the teams that they're facing and the starting pitchers that they're facing. This coming week, if I've done the numbers right, they will see in the Guardian series, they will see Logan Allen, who's a left-handed pitcher. But the other 3 games will probably be started by, I think, Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, and Ciccone, I believe it's the third, and they're all right-handers. So they'll probably see 1 lefty in the Guardian series. It looks fairly fortunate with the Phillies because the Phillies have a lot of left-handed pitching, but it looks like both Taijuan Walker and Aaron Nola are lined up to pitch Friday and Saturday. They'll get Ranger Suarez, who's a lefty, on Sunday, but there's a good chance they'll only face 1 lefty in the Phillies series. So at least for this coming week, 2 lefties and 5 righties, that's something you can work with. Now, the other problem, of course, is the vulnerability that they will have in the late innings with bullpen guys. But I mean, the Guardians in particular, like they've long had a very good bullpen, but all of their primary relievers are right-handed. So it might not actually come back to bite them too much in this upcoming series, which again is one of the 2 most important series they have left on the schedule. In fact, it may be a blessing that they've got so many left-handed bats that they've got guys like Salvador Perez. The right-handers they do have, and Maikel Garcia, are somewhat protected because they're going to see, they're going to be surrounded by so many lefties. So if they're if there is going to be a problem, it's going to be probably next week or the week after. This week, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. They I mean, that's something they're going to have to work on for next year, obviously. But you're kind of just like wear them out and get into the bullpen now. To me, is your only plan. We in some ways have buried the lead, and that is Bobby Witt Jr. being out of the lineup.
We're in denial. What do you mean? We're still in the denial portion of the grief phase here.
I think partially because
notice.
We want to believe that it's not serious, and they're acting like it's not. But first of all, how concerned should we be? I mean, you're excited. It's a back for Lugo. Yay. Well,
yeah,
it's a back for Bobby Witt. Yay.
No, I mean, back injuries for hitters are never, I'd much rather have a back injury for a pitcher, all things considered. I think the reason why we've delayed until now is because the analysis is easy. Like, if he's out, they're screwed. Like, it doesn't really matter if he's out for the next 3 weeks. The MRI, from what I understand, did not show anything structural, did not show anything that needs treatment. It's simply a matter of symptom management at this point, just pain relief. He had back spasms earlier this year and missed, I believe, he came out of a game and missed 1 game after that, I believe. And I think, we're all kind of just relying on his general durability, which for his career has been, one of the most impressive things about him, that he's never been on the injured list. And, he missed 1 game last year and 4 games the year before that. So, I think you and I are both optimistic that he'll be back tomorrow. I mean, I would like to think that even if they thought, he's probably ready to come back today, that they held him out precisely because, again, the Guardian series is much more important than today's game against the Twins. And so out of an abundance of caution, they kept him out. But guys are healthy until they're not. And even insanely durable players, we just celebrated the 30th anniversary of Cal Ripken's incredible streak. And, it becomes more incredible with time because guys who are, incredibly durable when they're 23, 24, 25, think about Mike Trout. Mike Trout, I don't think went on the injured list the first 5 full seasons of his career. He played 155 plus games every year, and he was, putting up 10 WAR seasons and off, basically the best start through age 25 of any player in Major League history. And he has been a physical wreck for the last 5 to 6 years. And now, this year he might actually get to 120 games for the first time since 2019 at least, but he's not even hitting that well anymore. The skills are eroded because when you can't stay healthy, you probably also are going to lose your skills a little faster. He's only 33 years old, just turned 33, but he's playing like an old 33. Obviously, Bobby's 25 years old. I'm not worried about that now. I'm just saying things can turn quickly. But in the short term, and that's really all that matters right now, the short term, they need him back tomorrow, ideally, right? Maikel Garcia is a great insurance policy to have. And Nick Lofton is fine at third base. I mean, I think they're as well set up as they can be to weather, the loss of a generational superstar, but he's still a generational superstar and they need him back right away.
Well, and I think the key, this should be maybe not a wake-up call. That's probably not the right thing to say, but it's time to start making sure you're giving him regular rest. No one's making a run at Cal Ripken's record. Right. Nobody wants to make a run at it.
Exactly. People realize it's not a good idea. Cal Ripken his worst month of his career was always September.
Yeah,
we didn't know back in the 80s. We didn't have month by month breakdowns. It was only late in his career that we started to look and have the data for that. And I remember, this is very primitive analysis we were doing on the internet back at the time. But people are like, Cal Ripken probably shouldn't be playing 162 games a year because he's not as good at the end of the year as he is at the beginning. So
yeah, and I think this underscores and should remind the Royals of that with Bobby Witt Jr. Right? Like make sure you're doing what's best for him to get as much out of him over the 162 times 10. I mean, like not
right.
just this 162, but all the 162s. And so, yeah, I think again, I'm optimistic that it's not a big deal, but backs are scary, and I think regular rest is something they're gonna have to have. And listen, they've got Michael Garcia. I mean, they even said it on the broadcast today. It's like, well, not a bad, consolation prize to put in another all-star.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
do they have the best left side of an infield in the majors? I mean, I think as of a couple days ago, there were only 5 players in the American League who had 5 wins above replacement. I will say I cannot remember. I think it was baseball reference wins. It might have been Fangraphs wins. Either way, there were 5 players in the entire league who were 5 wins above replacement, and 2 of them play the left side of the infield for the Kansas City Royals. Like that is an incredible, concentration of talent there. And, I just think it's hilarious going back, 3 years now when, we were arguing, should Bobby Witt stay at short? Should he move to third? And my argument then was he should move to third because they have this player named Michael Garcia, who I think should be their shortstop instead. So yeah, I got it wrong, but we got it right. Like they had 2 great players, and the benefit of two guys capable of playing a major league shortstop. And the benefit of having that is you can move one to third, and he's a really, really good defensive third baseman who can fill in at shortstop when you need him to. So it's a blessing to have Michael there, but still, you need Bobby Witt back as soon as possible.
Oh, for sure. But along the way, if you're going to give him a day off, you're fine.
Exactly.
It will be interesting to see what happens if this offseason when they go shopping and you come across a third baseman. Because then Michael can go to second.
Well, I mean, of course, the other possibility, and it sounds crazy, except they, as recently as April, they were considering this. He could go to center field.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, he could play the outfield. Like he did actually try that because they need an outfield, right? Like ideally in an ideal world, that'd be some perfect outfield solution for them. Right-handed hitter who could play left or center, and problem solved. But if you don't find that, then maybe you, like you said, and there's a great third baseman out there, and you can move Michael, and Michael's up to moving to center field or left field even.
That's
I think
the
you'd waste
question.
him at left.
Some of his comments about why he wasn't stealing bases were, well, I'm wearing my legs out in the outfield.
Right.
And he was saying that even on days he didn't play the outfield. So
I mean, it's to me, it's the backup plan. Like I love him at third base. I don't even want to move him to second if I can help it. Second base is a little more injury prone, because the base runners are, to your back a lot. So I'm always a little bit leery of putting too many eggs in the second base basket anyway. But like you said, the Royals have to address their offense somehow. And if they have to get creative in terms of the position they sign, and if Michael's willing to do it, then I say go for it. But if he's not, look, he's more important to the future of this organization than probably anybody you're going to be able to sign in free agency. So, I wouldn't do what the Red Sox did with Rafael Devers and be like, well, we're going to sign a 1 or 2 year solution, Alex Bregman, and then piss off the guy that we have signed for the next 10 years and force ourselves to trade him away. So I don't think that would be a smart move on the part of the Royals to do that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. All right, let's talk about what's going on right now with Ryan Bergert and how smart the Royals look with Ryan Bergert.
We talk about this every week, but I just had to bring this up after his last start, because, like, let me ask you this. Let's say right now you knew you were guaranteed the Royals will make the playoffs. Okay. But you have to decide today, without any knowledge of what's going to happen over the next 3 weeks, who will be your game 1 starter in the wild card round. Who is your number 1 starter, essentially, right now? If you put that decision to me right now, gun to my head, I think I'm picking Ryan Bergert. Right? Like, obviously, if Cole Ragans is healthy, he's probably better. If Seth Lugo is healthy, he's better. But we have no idea if either of those guys will be available in October. Michael Wacha is steady as you go, and just for being a veteran, fine. He probably will be the number one starter if the Royals are able to make the playoffs and set up their rotation the way they want for the wild card round. But Ryan Bergert has been everything we hoped he would be when we talked about him on whatever it was, July 31st, only a little bit better, right? The results have been there. The changes to his pitch repertoire has been there. We've talked about his changeup a little bit, but he doesn't throw the changeup much. To me, it's the sweeper has been just an absolute revelation. And his last start, he gave up 1 hit in 5 innings. The command was a little bit off, but some of that was because the sweeper was moving just ridiculously. And again, having a sweeper that moves laterally that much paired with a fastball that moves vertically that much is just not a common combination for pitchers to have. And it makes both pitches work that much better. I think we have to we have to accept the possibility, as crazy as it sounds, that for the second time in 3 trading deadlines, JJ Picollo traded away a completely superfluous player, a reliever or a backup catcher, for a pitcher with at least 5, in Bergert's case, 6 years of club control, who not just has emerged as a top of the rotation guy, but did it within weeks of the trade. Like, he traded Aroldis Chapman for Cole Ragans, and it wasn't like, oh, a year later, everyone's like, wow, the Royals really did well. 2 months later, before the season was over, like, Cole Ragans did more for the Royals than Aroldis Chapman did for the Rangers to win in the regular season. He had more value after the trade in the season it was made. Ryan Bergert's doing the same thing. And like Aroldis Chapman, it's not because Freddie Fermin has like been terrible. Freddie Fermin I think he's got almost a win above replacement now for the Padres. He's hitting, 260 with a little bit of pop, which compared to what the Padres had before the trade has been a definite improvement. He's playing very good defense. It's just that Bergert has been exceptional. He's been worth a full win in 6 starts, 33 innings, a 2.43 ERA. Okay, his FIP is 3.83, but we know his FIP. We nobody's going to have a true 2.43 ERA. If he's a true 3.83 ERA pitcher, that's still a number 2 or number 3 starter in the major leagues. And he's done it immediately. He went straight into the rotation. He didn't even need a minor league, tune-up. And like the Ragans trade, the Royals actually got a second player in the deal, right? Which makes it even better. Like the Aroldis Chapman trade, they got a minor prospect named Rony Cabrera, who's 19 and still in rookie ball. Like, probably will never make the majors, but it was a nice lottery ticket. In this case, Stephen Kolik's in the rotation right now. He's made 2 starts and has pitched well. Like, just incredible work by JJ Picollo. I will say the first time we were, when they traded Aroldis Chapman, we were like, well, we'd like to trade because, you got to trade present assets for future assets when you're on your way to losing 106 games. I think this time we were a little bit more prepared for it to be a really good trade. Like, we knew that we had a lot more faith in the Royals' ability to develop pitching. We saw what Bergert had already done in San Diego. We had been advocating for trading Freddie Fermin because he was, an excess asset for the Royals, but a guy who had a lot of value on the trade market. So I think you and I were very optimistic about the trade, but it has exceeded even our expectations. You have to tip your cap to JD. Twice he's done it in 3 years. That's incredible work.
These what we're seeing here are like when we talk old school baseball, you go back and you look at the deal that brought Hal McRae, the deal that brought John Mayberry. Those deals were transformative for the organization. And that's what these are. The Cole Ragans pretty close to already is, based on him being a Cy Young finalist last year. And now the way Bergert's off to this kind of start, I mean, these are the kind of deals that you're talking about, putting, that get JJ Picollo put into the Royals Hall of Fame.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I was about to say, you're talking about,
he's not there now.
No.
Down, but I'm just saying, like, this is when you hear, like, well, John Sherholtz, people say, like, well, it was really Tellis who did this, and you look back at the deals.
Well, that's the thing. The trade you made, like you mentioned the McRae trade. I mean, I think that's poignant because these are like trades from a different era. Teams, it's harder to make trades like this now because everybody's savvier than they used to be. The days of trading for John Mayberry by getting allegedly the Astros general manager stone cold drunk in his hotel room at the winter meetings, basically, and the story I believe is that, and this is from it might be from the Royals. There's a history book, Moments, Memories, and Miracles, that was published in the 90s. That's on my desk. I'm very fond of this history of the Royals. He talks about Cedric Tallis plied him with Mai Tais, I believe was the story. Because they wanted John Mayberry. If you look up John Mayberry's minor league numbers, I mean, it was almost a Moneyball trade in 1972 or whatever. I mean, you could practically see Peter Brand on the phone, clutching his fist and making the fist pump because we got Mayberry. Because Mayberry was like putting up like 1,000 OPSs in AAA. And this is the time when people didn't think minor league numbers mattered. And they very much did matter. And the Royals got John Mayberry because that's how unsophisticated other general managers might have been. Everybody's sophisticated now. But AJ Preller, when he wants something, he will overpay for it. All right. This might not even turn out to be the worst trade he made at the deadline if Leo DeVries is, turns out to be, live up to the top 5 prospect and all the baseball hype that he has. When Preller traded him for a very good reliever, but still a reliever in Mason Miller. The Royals knew that Padres desperately needed a catcher, and they had a general manager who, if he's desperate for something and he's going to the playoffs, he's going to overpay, and they got him to overpay. And as much as Fermin has been good there, I mean, I know Padres fans, I mean, because the Padres made like 5 or 6 trades at the deadline, they traded 4 pitchers. They got, in addition to Mason Miller, they got, JP Sears in that trade with the A's, who was a starting pitcher who made Bergert expendable. Right. So, except the problem is Bergert's been awesome, and JP Sears in San Diego has made 3 starts and has not been awesome. So I know Padres fans are frustrated by the fact that, whatever they got on the catching side, they lost in terms of having a reliable starting pitcher. So it looks like a really good deal. And Cedric Tallis, like you mentioned, the Royals Hall of Fame, Cedric Tallis is in the Royals Hall of Fame, finally, belatedly, but he got in last year because of the trades that he made. He didn't preside over a world championship, but he absolutely built the foundation of those playoff teams with Amos Otis and McRae and Freddie Patek. I mean, there's just a list of heists. We may look back 5-10 years from now and look at Cole Ragans and Ryan Bergert and hopefully more players to come the same way.
Let's look ahead 7 days. The Royals have wrapped up a 3-game series at Philadelphia. They've wrapped up a 7-game road trip, 4 at Cleveland, 3 at Philly. What are they looking at?
It's the time for optimism, Soren. If you can't be optimistic now, why are you in this business? I'm going to say 4-3, which, I mean, is not maybe optimistic, but I'm going to say if they go 3-1 against the Guardians and 1-2 against the Phillies, that's a successful week. Because even if the Mariners go 4-3 and they're 2 games back, that's fine because Seattle's coming to town. Somebody's going to win the series, and if you lose the series, you're screwed anyway. So if you win that series, you're right there. And if the Mariners go 5-2 or 6-1, well, there's a chance the Astros, you could actually catch the Astros. Like this is the week to just hold serve and hope that when you come back and you have a homestand, admittedly, the Mariners and the Blue Jays, not exactly an easy homestand, but you have a chance to do some damage. That's the series. I hope the stadium is absolutely packed. It's the last home series of the year. I've cleared my schedule. If assuming they don't completely go to crap here in the next 10 days, I'm hoping to be there for the Blue Jay series in 2 weeks. So I'll attendance +1, whatever the attendance would have been otherwise. But they've got to hold serve. So I'm going to say 4-3, and they'll be probably 2 games out when we talk next time.
There it is. Rany has put it on the table, 4-3 for your Kansas City Royals. Remember, you can always support the Kaufman Corner podcast. Go ahead and hit that like button, that subscribe button, tell your friends, share it if you would. You can also support our great sponsors like David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. David and his crew are fantastic. They've got you covered with every kind of insurance you might ever need. Give David and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. That's 816-781-7331. By our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, All things parking lot. Find them online at ganasphalt.com with free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, whether it's just striping and signage or building a parking lot from scratch. They did the Liberty Memorial. They've done all kinds of giant lots. They can do your lot as well, serving Kansas City since 1994. And, of course, our friends at Whataburger. For a limited time, take advantage of the Bacon Wrangler Double. 2 large beef patties, American and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, fried onion strings, pickles, and chipotle aioli sauce. It's great. Also, check out my favorite, the patty melt. It's here for a limited time. Wash it all down with a Dr. Pepper Blackberry Shake. Remember, Whataburger's open 24 hours. You're hungry right now? Get to Whataburger. They also serve breakfast, 11 p to 11 a. For the good doctor, Dr. Rany Jazayerli, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.